repeatedly, boldly, shamelessly lying, just making stuff up. That's what they're doing right now all the time. But and by the way, it's not the first time. They do this every election cycle. Try to terrify folks. And then the election comes and problem suddenly magically vanishes. You never hear about it again. In 2010, they said that Bill and I, we were setting up death panels to kill your grandma. Remember that? In 2014, they said, Ebola's gonna kill all of us. Shut the borders. In 2016, it was Hillary's emails. They were all wound up about that. And the mainstream press picked up on it. This is terrible. This is a breach of security. You know they don't care about that, because if they did, they'd be worrying about the current president talking on his cell phone while the Chinese are listening in. They didn't care about it. They said it to get folks angry and ginned up. Now in 2018, they're telling you the existential threat to America is a bunch of poor refugees 1,000 miles away. They're even taking our brave troops away from their families for a political stunt at the border. And the men and women of our military deserve better than that. So there's just constant fear-mongering to distract from the record. Now the administration suddenly says we're doubling down on an outdated Cuba policy, which all that does is hurt families and entrepreneurs who are trying to open up the Cuban economy. We need to get back to policies that support the Cuban people, make their lives better. That's change. That's what Bill believes in. That's what Andrew believes in. The point is, Florida, they make stuff up, but here's also the problem is too often we fall for it. Too often we fall for the distraction. You know, y'all remember Peanuts, right? Maybe some of you too young. Charlie Brown and Lucy with the football. And she'd say, go ahead, I'm holding it, you can kick it. And Charlie Brown would say, okay, and then she'd pull the ball away and he'd fall on his back. But he kept on doing it every time. Don't be Charlie Brown. Don't fall for the okie doke. Don't be bamboozled. Don't be hoodwinked. Because when you get distracted, while you're distracted with all this stuff they're making up, they're also robbing you blind. They'll be like, look over there. And then they're giving tax cuts to billionaires. Look over there. And then they're letting polluters poison your air and water. They will absolutely take health care away from millions the first chance they get while you are distracted with stuff that is not true. It's like the con where a door-to-door salesman says you need a security system while his buddy sneaks in the back and steals your stuff. But it's not just the practical effect in terms of policy. When words stop meaning anything, when truth doesn't matter, when people can just lie with abandon, democracy can't work. In our own lives, in our marriages, in our families, if consistently the people we're dealing with can't believe what we say, if our children see that it doesn't matter that you actually accomplish things, all you do is just make stuff up whenever it's expedient, society doesn't work. Democracy does not work. And that's what's happening. at the highest levels. And the only check on that behavior is you. The only check on that behavior is you and your vote. And on Tuesday, you can vote for a politics that's decent and honest and lawful and tries to do right by people. If you're a Democrat, you better be voting for Andrew Gillum and Bill Nelson and the whole ticket. If you're not a Democrat, you should still be voting for it. Because it shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say we don't just lie with impunity. It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say we don't just punish our political opponents trying to use a justice system. That we don't threaten the freedom of the press because they say something we don't like. It shouldn't be Democratic or Republican to say we're not going to target certain groups based on what they look like or how they pray. It shouldn't be Democrat or Republican to know that climate change is real and threatens our futures and our kids' futures. And Florida is going to see some of the worst effects of climate change unless we change course right now. I know Republicans may think that government should only perform a few functions, but one of those functions should be taking care of folks after a hurricane in Puerto Rico. I know there are conservatives who think we should be fiscally prudent. Well, there's nothing fiscally responsible about trillion-dollar deficits. I know there are sincere conservatives who are compassionate and must think there's nothing compassionate about ripping immigrant children from the arms of mothers at the border. I'm assuming that they recognize that a president doesn't get to decide on his own who's an American citizen and who's not. That's not how the Constitution of the United States works. That's not how the Bill of Rights works. That's not how our democracy works. People who think it's wrong to spend 8 years trying to take away people's health care and then spend the final days pretending you're Mother Teresa, that they're Florence Nightingale. People who, I'm assuming people must get upset when they see folks who spend all their time vilifying others, questioning their patriotism, calling them enemies of the people, and then suddenly pretending they're concerned about civility. And we don't need more mealy-mouthed elected officials who say, oh, well, I'm very concerned, or I'm terribly vexed by this bad behavior. But there's nothing I can do about it. We need leaders who will actually stand up for what's right, regardless of party. Leaders who represent the best of the American spirit, like Andrew Gillum and Bill Nelson. Patriots will stand up for anyone whose fundamental rights are at stake. Our neighbor's health care, somebody else's kids getting bullied. Will stand up if they see their gay friend getting harassed. Will stand up for the God-given freedom to worship without fear. That's what all of us need to stand up for. With clarity and patriotism and purpose, the values that bind us to our fellow citizens, no matter who we are, no matter what we look like. That's what Americans do. That's what America is. That's what Andrew Gillum believes. That's what Bill Nelson believes. That's what you believe. And that's where I'm hopeful, Florida. I'm hopeful that we will cut through the lies, block out the noise, and remember who we are and who we are called to be. I'm hopeful that out of this political darkness, I see a great awakening of citizenship all across the country. I can't tell you how encouraged I've been to see so many people getting involved for the first time, or the first time in a very long time, marching and organizing and registering people to vote. These incredible, inspiring Parkland students, I don't usually wear bracelets, but I saw some of the families backstage trying to transform unspeakable grief into a better world. Young veterans of Iraq and Afghanistan. Record numbers of women who are running for office. You know we need more women. It's a movement of citizens who maybe never had much interest in politics, but they said, oh, this time it's different. This time it's too important to sit out. They're lacing up those marching shoes. They're grabbing a clipboard because they believe in an America that's better, that's kinder, that looks out for one another. The antidote to government by the powerful few is government by the organized, energized many. The antidote to a politics based on division is a politics based on a sense that we're in it together. That's what this moment's about. And I have to tell you, Florida, one election won't fix everything. You know, sometimes I hear young people especially saying, oh, well, you know, I don't know, all politicians are the same, nothing changes, everything. You know what? It's true that one election is not suddenly going to eliminate poverty in this country. One election won't eliminate racism or sexism or homophobia. One election will not suddenly give everybody health care all at once, or ensure that every child in Florida gets the kind of education they deserve. It's not going to happen just in one election, but it'll be a start. It'll be a start. It'll make things better. And when you start down that path of making things better, momentum starts to build. And then it gets even better. And it gets even better. So don't just sit back. If you don't like what's going on right now, don't just complain. Don't get anxious and freaked out. Don't throw up your hands in despair. Don't boo. Don't hashtag. Vote. When you vote for an attorney general and state reps, they will have the power to protect our voting rights and make sure our criminal justice system treats everybody fairly. When you vote, you have the power to make sure we strengthen laws that protect women in the workplace from harassment and discrimination, and make sure they're paid the same as men for doing the same job. When you vote, you have the power to make it easier for a college student to afford college, and harder for a disturbed person to shoot up places where our kids learn and where our seniors gather to worship. When you vote, you have the power to make sure a family keeps its health insurance. You could save somebody's life. That power rests in your hands. And if you get involved, if you knock on some doors, if you talk